Radiant Youth, welcome to Youth Night. If I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, my name is Aslan Canchola, and I have the incredible honor of serving you as your central youth pastor here at Radiant Church. Now, besties, if you are sitting next to someone and it's their first time here, make a new friend, get them connected with their small group leader, and big responsibility coming, make sure they know about summer camp. Prices go up at the end of the month and they don't want to miss it. So before we get started, why don't we take a second, tell someone your favorite camp memory, and let them know that they have to be here with us this summer. Now tonight we are kicking off a brand new series at Youth Night called Don't Believe the Storm. Now when I hear the word storm, I think about Florida hurricane season. I think of the rain, the wind, and the fear that comes with extreme weather. My sister lives in Arizona, and when she hears the word storm, she thinks about super intense dust storms and monsoons. Now, most of the time when we hear the word storm, we think of the weather, right? But have you ever considered that storms could actually be internal? It's when your heart feels messy and your thoughts are spinning and your emotions are all tangled up. You might feel angry, but you can't really explain why. Maybe you feel frustrated with everyone and everything, or maybe you experience anxiety, like something bad is about to happen when you know that you're safe, but you don't know why you feel that way. I want to tell you tonight, friends, that it's okay. Being caught in an internal emotional storm is more common than you'd think. Actually, these feelings go back, way back, to even biblical times. There's a psalm written by a man named David that expresses those deep feelings. It says this in Psalm 6. I am worn out from sobbing. All night I flood my bed with weeping. But here's the good news. God isn't afraid of your storm. He doesn't wait for you to be calm to come close. He steps into your chaos with love and peace. And over the next few weeks, we're going to take a look at people in the Bible and how God used their mess and turned it into a message for us today. Now, we're going to talk about some pretty deep topics surrounding our mental health, like depression, anxiety, loneliness, and even suicide. But I promise that if you lean in and if you open your ears to listen and posture your heart to learn, you'll learn that God can meet you in the middle of your storm and that you can have freedom in your relationship with Christ. Let's get started. All right, let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt like you're in the middle of a storm and no one sees you? Life's crashing in and everything feels heavy and you're left wondering, am I alone in this? Some of you might be feeling that right now. Maybe a friend just ghosted you. Maybe your parents just don't understand you. Maybe you're surrounded by people but still feel completely alone. Tonight, I want you to know something powerful. Even in your loneliest moments, Jesus is with you. And not only is he with you, but Jesus has the power to calm any storm in your life. Now you may be saying, okay, Pastor Aslan, those are great words, but how do I know that Jesus actually has power? I mean, I've never seen it in real life. Well, besties, I'm glad that you asked. We're going to take a look at the book of Matthew to a very real storm and how Jesus handled it. We're going to open up to Matthew 8, starting in verse 23. Then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." He replied, "You have little faith. Why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this that even the winds and waves obey him?" Wow, in the middle of a terrible storm where they think they may not make it, Jesus steps in and with a simple rebuke, a correction to the winds, he calmed it completely. You see, the power of Jesus can calm any storm in our lives, even the ones that seem like they are totally going to wipe us out. I have another example for you. There are two men named Paul and Silas that had one of those moments, a major storm. And it all started because they were acting in obedience to what the Lord had called them to do. When we meet them in Acts 16, Paul has just cast a demon from a girl who had been trapped and used by people for profit. You would think that people would be happy he was able to free her, right? Wrong. Instead of being celebrated, Paul and Silas were attacked by an angry crowd, beaten and thrown into prison. But it wasn't just a regular prison cell. Oh no, they were thrown into the deepest, darkest part of the prison. Their situation was looking completely hopeless. Let's take a look at Acts 16 to see what happened after they landed in jail. After they had been severely flogged, they were thrown into prison, and the jailer was commanded to guard them carefully. When he received these orders, he put them in the inner cell and fastened their feet to the stocks. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly, there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once, all the prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains came loose. The jailer woke up, and when he saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself. We are all here." Phew. Before we read into the ending, I want to look at those first few verses. Can you imagine how lonely they must have felt? No phones, no texts, no snaps, no one checking in. Just darkness, pain, and the weight of being misunderstood and mistreated. Now think about your own life. Maybe your prison isn't made of bricks and chains, but you felt locked in before. Maybe you felt stuck in sadness, trapped by other people's opinions, and it's left you feeling really lonely. Let's really focus in on what Paul and Silas did in verse 25. It said, about midnight, they were praying and singing hymns to God. The other prisoners were listening to them. Can you just imagine that? This is where everything changed. They worshiped, and the power of their praise shook the prison. It opened the doors and it broke the chains, not just from Paul and Silas, but from every prisoner. Now, their storm was very physical, but it may be a similar storm to what all of us has faced at some point in our lives internally, the storm of loneliness. But they knew a simple truth that carried them through, that freedom came through worship. It was their worship that they cried out to God, and they were met in a supernatural way. What happened with Paul and Silas in the prison cell shows us that our circumstances don't get to define our faith. It's actually our faith that defines how we respond to our circumstances. They could have complained, they could have given up, but instead they praised. And their praise became the very thing that led to breakthrough, not just for them, but for everyone around them. So what does this mean for you? It means that despite everything, your loneliest of loneliest moments, the lowest of lows, you are not alone. God sees you, and Jesus will be with you in the storm. If we look to the Old Testament, we find this verse in Deuteronomy 31. It says, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. It's been right there in front of us all along. We're equipped to face the storm of loneliness in our lives because we know the truth. We are never truly alone when we walk with God. He's always with us. This verse in Deuteronomy reminds us that God doesn't just send good vibes from a distance. He goes before you. He walks with you and never leaves you behind. That means you never have to walk through the halls of your school, sit alone on the bus, or cry in your room without him being right there. He's not afraid of your sadness or your questions or your quiet. When the storm of loneliness shows up, God stays. He doesn't leave when things get heavy. He leans in. When it comes to combating the storm of loneliness, it may feel impossible, but tonight I want to leave you with 3 things that you can do to practice leaning into God's presence. 1, cry out to God in prayer. Start simple. Try talking to God like you're texting a friend. You don't need fancy words. What's important is that you just turn to him and share your heart. You can do it when you're walking between class, lying in bed, or even brushing your teeth. Just talk to God. Tell him how you feel, even if you're confused, hurt, or numb. He's listening. Start with, God, today was hard, and I feel blank, and go from there. Second, write down one God reminder every night. Before bed, jot down one way you noticed God today, or even just one thing you're thankful for. Maybe it's someone who smiled at you, a verse you saw on Instagram, or just the fact that you made it through the day. This helps you spot God's presence more clearly. And the one that ties back to our story of Paul and Silas, worship. Build a go-to worship playlist. Now, I don't know about you, but music can shift my whole mindset. Create a playlist of worship songs that remind you you're not alone. When you feel down, put in your AirPods and let the truth of those lyrics wash over your heart. It's a way to reset your mind on God's presence. Need some inspiration? Check out the We Are Radiant Youth playlist on Spotify. Or better yet, collab with your small group tonight and put together songs that lift you up when you need them the most. Radiant Youth, I've loved getting to share some ways that we can combat loneliness together. And I know that if you take these 3 things and you apply them to your lives this week, you'll start to see how God continues to show up in your life at the lowest moments. I love you. I hope you have fruitful time in your small groups and that you have the best Wednesday yet.